Just started streaming.
Welcome to Microworld at Home. And this week, it's Biogenic City. Today we've got a number of people adding into the mix. We've got Jonathan Armour, Stephen Carley, Julia Schauerman, Simon Ray, David Viey, and Ava Pascoe. And us. Did I mention Julia Schauerman?
You did. Your sister. What is Biogenic City, Nicola? Off you go.
Okay, I'm just going to open it up to 3. Oh no, that's the wrong one. So biogenic means brought about or produced by creatures or organic forms. And of course the microworld is produced by quite a lot of humans, but a lot of the artworks in the space are inspired by different forms of life, sea life, lots of single cell creatures. I'll tell you a little bit more about some of the ones you can see at the moment in a little while. And biogenic was a word that came to us the first time thinking about Margate beach and the discovery that the sand in Margate is actually biogenic, and that means that it's made up of dead sea creatures, clams, radiolaria, sponges, echinoderms, foraminifera, protists of all sorts. So, but again, I'll tell you a little bit more about the protists a little later. So Tim, tell us what music you're going to be playing.
I'm just going to read something out before that, and then I'll try and make a link to the audio. So this, what I'm going to read is by Greg. It's by a book called Permutation City by Greg Egan, who's a science fiction writer. And I'll just read it. There's a cellular automaton called TVC after Turing, von Neumann, and Chiang. Chiang's version was n-dimensional. That leaves plenty of room for data within easy reach. In 2 dimensionals, the original von Neumann machine had to reach further and further and wait longer and longer for each successive bit of data. In a 6-dimensional TVC automaton, you can have a 3-dimensional grid of computers which keeps on growing indefinitely, each with its own 3-dimensional memory, which can also grow without bound. And when the simulated TVC universe being run on the physical computer is suddenly shut down, the best explanation for what I've witnessed will be a continuation of that universe, an extension made out of dust. Maria could almost see it, a vast lattice of computers, a seed of order in a sea of random noise, extending itself from moment to moment by sheer force of internal logic, accreting the necessary building blocks from the chaos of non-space-time by the very act of defining space and time. And the reason I read that out was because we're interested in how processes and animals build stuff. So it's not just humans that build stuff, lots of animals build things as well. And often they do it by accreting. And we'll demonstrate some of our creatures later on today which build the biogenic city by accreting little bits of information across the screen. So we're going to play a piece of audio, several bits of audio throughout this show today. The first one I'm going to play, I was looking through old audio. I used to do a radio show a long time ago on Resonance Radio. One of the shows I did in particular was inspired by Uri Geller. I don't quite see how this connects to the city, but this piece of music was very composed, I would say. Often I write some kind of process and creating generative sound. But this piece was kind of composed, lots of blocks put together, and then there was a kind of a reference to Uri Geller and type of stuff he gets up to. So yeah, this piece is about 14 minutes long, and it's good for us to have music as a background, because we're just going to start playing with our biogenic city, so starting to build stuff around the different walls. So I'm going to run this. So this is Uri Geller, circuit bending.
Please listen carefully, 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 for your own sake. Yuri, Yuri. Yuri, Yuri, Yuri. After recording, it's a mistake. Yuri, Yuri. Destroy the tape completely, completely. One more time, completely, completely, completely. Yuri, Yuri, Yuri. How much is Stampy? Stampy, Stampy. Where you come from? Yuri, Yuri. How much is Stampy? With chips and beef. Where you come from? Yuri, Yuri. How much is Stampy? Stampy, Stampy.
On page 39, Yuri sees a huge silent bowl-shaped object in the sky. On page 40, Yuri tells his mother how much money she had won at cards. On page 41, Yuri's watch jumps forward 1.5 hours. On page 58, Yuri shows Shippy how he could move the watch's hands without touching it. On page 58, a blindfolded Yuri guesses numbers and pictures drawn by children on a blackboard. On page 63, Yuri splits a gold ring. On page 64, a blindfolded Yuri drives a car through Haifa traffic.
I'm Yuri. I'm Chippy. I'm Andrea. I'm Daniel. I'm the star. I work backstage. I'm the runner. I'm the missus. I'm the psychic. I'm his sidekick. I record things. I'm the nose scanner. I like limelight. I like nightlight. I like insight. I like moonlight. I like limelight. I like nightlight. I like insight. I like moonlight. I like nightlight. I like insight. I like moonlight. I like nightlight. I like insight. I like moonlight. We are the terror effect. We haven't finished the job yet. There's still a few of you left.
On page 66, Yuri projects a 3-digit number into Andreja's mind. They both write the number 432 on a pad.
We are the terror effect. We haven't finished the job yet. There's still a few of you left. There's still a few of you left. We hold the spoons of the world in the palm of our hands. A wrinkle in the fabric of space. A crinkle for the human race.
Can you put the video?
You may tire of the soup.
Can you put the video on this wall
Yeah.
so I can get an error?
Well, that was exhausting. That was, from my perspective, that was completely the wrong type of music. It was way too busy. And I completely lost all the settings and all the dots. Everything stopped moving. Anyway, Nicola did well on screen 2. Looks deluxe. Catch my breath.
Yeah.
So this week, we yet again created a bunch more creatures, and it's getting to the point where I'm forgetting how to get the original creatures to do what they were supposed to do, but perhaps that's because lots of these creatures are getting colour information from the screen, so as we're layering more and more stuff on top of it, they're losing their ability to create right angles. I thought that would be easy, but I can see a few right angles. I'll zoom in on one. Where are we? 2. Is this going to work, Nicola? If I zoom in on that, is that me or you? Yes.
Yeah.
Right angles. Biogenic city. And they should have dots crawling around them, but I'm not sure where the dots have gone, falling asleep. They're all asleep, the dots. I'll take it off soon. So yeah, one of the things we introduced was right angles in the dots. But there are also, what do you call these things, Nicola?
That's what the animalcule. This is part of a group called the protists. Do you want me to tell you about them?
Yes, I think we should start with them. So these are the kind of building-like geometric shapes that are slowly revolving around various walls.
Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about this then. So lots of artists have muses, and my muse is the shape-shifting amoeba. And you may remember studying amoeba at school in biology, but just to remind you, amoeba are unicellular organisms which have the ability to alter their shapes primarily by extending and retracting pseudopodia, so sort of false feet. And they stretch towards different solutions and retract from unpleasant solutions. And so several years ago, Genetic Moon created a project called Animalcules, which has around 45 creatures in it, and they were all inspired by simple organisms, microscopic organisms, primarily plankton and algae. And I became very interested in amoeba that actually are architects, so make their test or shell from material around them. And there are two in particular. So we've got several protists in the house, so I'll just tell you a little bit about them. So the protists. So the simplest definition of a protist is that they are all eukaryotic organisms that are not animals, plants or fungi. And there are two features that I was particularly interested in. So the two creatures I was looking at were Radiolaria and Foraminifera. And because I was interested in linking animals with architecture, so I was thinking in terms of glass and concrete. So the glass is linked with the Radiolarians. So they secrete silica. They're single-celled protists and they live in the open ocean. And they take their name from radial symmetry because it's often marked by their radial skeletons and spines. So they make these skeletons out of silica or strontium, and they tend to be in the form of needles or shields. And then the concrete, which I term concrete building creatures, are the Foraminifera. And Foraminifera is Latin for hole bearers. And these are also then amoeboid protists. So it's amoeba in casings. And these are characterized by streaming granular ectoplasm for catching food and other uses. And their shell or the test is made from a variety of materials, and these are actually grabbed from the ocean. And they build roundish shells, predominantly made of calcium carbonate. So those are the creatures that you can see swimming around the space. I think probably that's enough of me talking, and we should get back to making some more visuals. And I'm going to start introducing some of the material that I've had sent in.
Yeah, so which video are you going to put on?
I think I'm going to go for Jonathan Armour to begin with, so I'm just going to get that ready. And have you got some music you're going to play?
Sure. Do you want musical music or noise music?
Noise music was.
I'll play this one.
Okay, so I'm going to start feeding video into this one, okay, so I'm making it less busy, I think. I'll take. some people watching. So do you want to switch it on to the all three?
Yes. I'm going to turn this music down and talk about Sean's pixel things. So someone's just sent in a green robot, which you can see going up the screen. Well, it's yellow. So that's using Sean's Clark's MQTT system. MQTT system, let's put it up. I think the address is on number 2, is it? Yes, so you can contribute pixel creatures into this space by going to this website, which is on screen 2. Nicola puts up artthings.io/pixel. On there you'll find a button for pixel editor, and you get a grid and you can create your own colours and patterns, send it, gets sent to us across the internet and added into the space. Now this week I don't know if Sean is actually the one who sent that robot through. It's probably too well drawn for something for Sean, I think. This week we've added more functionality to the MQTT pixel things. So they come into our space and then they're just bouncing around at the moment. But we can, if we turn off a few things, crane, get that off, get the dots away, clear the screen. That blue blob is the whale, don't worry about that. So we've got some video pinkish background colouring which is coming from
Behind you?
Behind me. And then these things bounce around. So on the bottom of our screen, you can just about see, moving quite quickly, are a load of termites. And the termites are waiting for the pixel things to fall to decay. Oh, that's a bit fast. So every now and again, there's a slider, and these pixel things are shedding pixels which drop down to the bottom of the screen, where they are picked up by the termites and sorted into coloured towers. So they're building a cityscape at the bottom of the screen. If I zoom into the bottom of the screen
Do you
area.
want to film your
Film what?
your pixel thing?
No. Well, you can if you want. Where do I put it? I'll
No, maybe it's not.
put it on. Number 3 is the background to that one, so put it on that one. Number 1. Put it on number 1. Put it on screen number 1. I'll demonstrate.
Okay.
1. Is
It's
that
on
one?
one, yeah.
No.
So
The webcam. Turn the video on.
that is one. That's you in it, you see.
Is that me? Oh yeah, it is. I'm huge. It's tiny though. Oh, it's the big camera. No, I don't want that one. I want these ones. I can't demo it like this, Nicola. Look, no one can see it. It's tiny. I could hold it up. Anyway. Yeah, let's figure out how to do this. We need to get one of these table cameras, point that at this, close up.
Yeah.
So it could be this one, W2.
Yeah, but they're not linked to the
So I've just not turned it on, this one.
That's trying to do it there.
Yeah, look, it's there now.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I set it back to normal settings and you take off
I'll turn off mine, yeah.
Jonathan's video. Can you turn off Jonathan's video?
Uh-huh.
I can still see tons and tons of stuff.
Okay, so
Okay, so this is Sean's pixel thing. You can just about see it on screen number 2, which Nicola hasn't got on. 2. Artthings./pixel. And you get to this app and you can create a coloured shape as a P and then press share. And a P has appeared on wall number 3. It's just going up the top of the screen. I'll send another one. I'll send a load of these. You have to wait a few seconds after each send. So you can see these round shapes appear, circle shapes appear, but then they start to drop pixels down to the bottom of the screen. And the termites start gathering the pixels and they clump together the ones of the colour that they like. Because I sent through a whole lot of white pixels, there's huge white towers at the minute. So I'm going to you can also get the termites to eat away at the towers by giving them a kind of appetite, and as they go along they'll remove some of these pixels. And then the last thing that's I've added in this week on these towers is a musical system. Just see what the level's like. So reduce the decay rate. Well, have I increased the decay rate? I can't remember which way around I did the slider. So the sound, the beatbox sound, is made by scanning across the cityscape and playing a pitch depending on how high the tower is at that particular point. I'm going to speed it up a bit. So now you can see that almost all the towers have disappeared at the bottom of the screen because the termites have been eating them basically. So I'm going to stop the termites eating the towers and now allow these coloured sprites to come down. I'm sending various shapes through MQTT. Red blob, orange blob, and I'll send a yellow blob. So they've gone onto the wall, 3 blobs. Now I can increase the decay, the drop rate, how often they drop. And they're starting to, at the bottom of the screen, you can see here that they've started to be gathered by the termites, which in turn is creating this musical sequence. I'll drop it back down, slide down again. So we'll leave this running for the whole of today. So if you send through your pixel things, artthings.io/pixel, you will be able to. Someone sent in a French flag. Possibly that's David.
David, yeah, he sent in the robot.
He's missed a bit in the bottom corner, David. So that means that there will be more towers on the bottom of the landscape. Red, white and blue. So we'll leave that running. Shall I turn it up a bit, Nicola?
Yeah.
So I'm going to get too...
Maybe a little bit
Let's
less.
get too loud, get too loud. So the sound in this case is generated by processing itself, the language that we use for all these programs. Processing is not... it can do sound, but it's not brilliant at sound. As a result, every time a note's played, you can hear a click where the level just whips in really quickly. It doesn't have a kind of... it doesn't smoothly introduce new notes, because it's playing as a... It's basically a big sine wave underneath this, which is just the frequency is being changed by the towers.
No, the flag's getting corrupted.
The flag is being... The French flag is being corrupted, David. Let's send another one in. Okay, so that is working, so that is an example of stigmergy, which we're going to talk about later on. Sounds not bad actually. The termites are actually attempting to get the same colours next to each other in the towers that they build. So the stuff dropping is going to be random, or it's going to be whatever colour people are sending in. But the termites sort through it. Extra noise.
I'm just going to have a fire alarm testing.
The fire alarm goes off every day in this block of flats. If someone puts a bit of toast, cooks some toast, it goes off. drop the high end of the notes because they're getting a bit. As the towers get taller, the pitch gets higher.
Just testing.
And I might make the termites just eat away a little bit as well, because otherwise I imagine the whole screen's going to fill up by the end of today's session, which is fine. It may get super high pitched. Okay, so we're going to leave that running, I think, Nicola.
Yeah.
I like these dots. How'd you get those?
They're coral.
Ah, coral.
Okay, additional sound by fire alarm testing. Okay, so I'm just going to add one of my programs in there. Can you take your pixel off?
Yes, this is Biogenic City Week, so we've tried to make things more geometric. That's good, get that in.
I'm going to. Okay, so now we're bringing Viey's contribution
How'd you say
to
it?
space. Oh, let's take
That's good.
it off.
So yeah, people can send in anything to us, and we'll try to incorporate it into the Microworld at home. So David has sent in little video clips
This is
or
a
GIFs.
Yeah, just get the lighting right now. In fact, I might give it a colour. Ooh, that's interesting.
That one's off, isn't it? 3.
Okay, dancing woodland boy. Or it's an artist model, isn't it?
Kind of looks like it is dancing. I
It
take
is.
well.
It says it's really kicking. Okay, so yeah, that's coral behind you, Tim. So I'm going to get some more lines from the dots so that we can have. I'm just going to sort out my pattern. You had said about doing putting some of these patterns back in, but I think we just have to work with the video, don't we? Because it's
Can you drop I on this one? Oh, I did it myself. Oh yeah, I did it. It automatically gets rid of
what's that?
So, just the info stuff.
That's nice. What's that?
That's the cranes. So if I press K, it starts again. Yeah, you can change the size of it. So another thing we've added in this week is the self-replicating cranes, which you can see just about
I'm just going to
behind David's thing. They actually move a bit fast, so I might slow them down. They're quite on the video cameras in our setup are a bit
slow.
slow. Yeah, that's one word for it.
It's to do with game.
Oh yeah, great clue. Got your camera. Yeah, we've got 8 webcams in this space, and we're trying to pump in through OBS and.
It's to do with the light levels. If we were in daylight, they all work in real time. In this artificial light, they all start flickering.
Can you? Thank you. Oh no! Don't look scared. Fair.
Is that right?
Well, this crane keeps knocking out. Maybe it's because it's so ginormous. The size is especially a bit smaller than that. If I drop the speed down, they go a bit more slowly out. Well, they take longer to build. Some of the things that we create look great when you create them on your laptop. Then we throw them into this space and put them through quite a slow webcam. They don't quite read brilliantly, so we'll have to try and improve that. But we're looking to get a much faster internet connection to stream this more quickly, which hopefully will allow our webcams to capture more quickly. We're not quite sure. That might speed everything up a bit. Okay, Nicholas, so we've got about 10 minutes before Julia's going to play some live music from Sheffield.
Yeah.
Shall I just leave the termites, or shall I put something? I'll put something on top of it.
You put something on top, please.
When I was rummaging through
This camera?
yeah,
Behind?
that's your head. That's good, Nicholas. Get your head bigger. Well, you can put one on me as well, I suppose. Portrait hour.
Where you haven't got your camera on?
I'm not very lit.
I can help you.
If I go over here. No, I don't want that.
I'll put some more light through my...
I can see myself. It's just in the wrong position. It's profile.
What
Those.
is that?
Can you hear that? Genetic moving. I did that years ago when the group first set up.
We will do a celebration of all things genetic moving sometime, because we started in 1999, and at one point there were 10 of us in the group, but it was a film and performance group, and
We have found a load of old video clips that never made it into a film. So if we get permission off
I'll show you.
Simon and so forth, which I'm sure they'll be fine with, we'll do a birth of genetic move.
So can we have something on wall 3, please?
Yes. I think I'm going to kill off everything actually.
We're going to start from scratch.
That's a good idea. Let's start from scratch.
Yeah.
Right.
By dancing here.
I'm going to fade out the turn.
In fact, that's good, because then we can respond to Julia's.
Now, oh yeah. Press K a lot. Get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Oh, peace and quiet. Well, I've got to check. You have to put something up, Nicola. Oh, I'll put the... cranes.
I'm just going to put
Okay, I'll just put up
Pascoe's coronavirus, I think.
the cranes.
I'm just going to have a still image in the background.
Random quote. So I've got to check we're getting the feed okay off Julia. I'm getting something. Looks like the level's okay. That's good, I like that, Nicola.
So it's equal Pascoe's coronavirus.
Ooh.
And I'll just...
So self-replicating cranes. Self-replicate. So each one is a
I'll make mine a bit dark. Is yours okay?
series of nodes connected with lines, and when the new tile gets high enough, the top line becomes an active head, and the active head searches for loose parts to build the next crane, and on it goes, and they kind of work together, and sometimes they get kind of mutations, which is that kind of spare dangling blue bits off the middle of the cranes. I'm not quite sure how that comes about, probably because there are two working at once so quickly. So, and you can add more cranes in. Now put the slider on. You can have cranes up there, cranes over there, cranes over there, cranes over there. But obviously this is a kind of a new one. It's a bit, I wouldn't say it's thoroughly...
Oh, I hadn't realised it was going to be so big.
You can change the scale of it. Yeah, I put that in because I was aware that it wasn't going to be viewable. And you can also change the height of the... how many sections they make and how old they are before they crumble away and die. And if they all crumble away and die, that means there's no crane left to build the next crane, like now. So then I have to add a new crane. So currently the cranes only build other cranes, and they don't actually have a sense of they don't have a plan by which to, well, they do have they know what they're trying to build, and it's always exactly the same. But in the future, they'll be going to do it so that they can create a new body shape for the crane or anything, and that should allow there to be mutations. So you should see the system create more and more complicated things. That's the idea. It's certainly quite a complex bit of coding, this one. It's using inverse kinematics to get to places, and it's using recursion to send signals up and down, top to bottom. Nicholas saying wind it up, so I'm going to wind it up.
Julia's ready to go.
Julia is ready to go. So
Live from Sheffield. And I'll have a chat with her afterwards as well, so we can hear more about it.
So I'm not seeing anything on her stream. And everything else is quiet, so when she starts, we'll hear it.
Okay, and I'm just going to start some moving that movie back.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, now I just want to say that we have got bad weather here, so hopefully we won't have any interference. But take it away.
Once more, yeah.
Do you want to say something about
Thanks, Julia. I guess that's the ending. It's faded out. Sorry, we had a bit of twitchy connection for that part. We had to change our internet this end. We've got it's quite windy today, and we've got building works down the end of the street. That doesn't help our internet connection particularly. So.
Okay, well, shall I just give Julia a quick call and we can just have a quick chat with her and you fiddle with the space?
Yes, I'm going to go around your side. Nicola, you've not done any building yet? Cityscapes?
No, there you go. You can start doing
I'm
it.
going to start doing that. All right. You need to put your earphones on to chat.
So I've got you on the speaker.
Yes.
I'm just going to take my headphones off and come round to a different place. So it sounded wonderful and we responded to it, but the signal was a bit chopsy. So whereas last week it was, apart from cutting out for milliseconds, it just sort of came in and out a bit. So Tim had to change our server.
It's quite windy up here as well, actually.
Yeah. And so I'm just going to tell Tim, you can see what you're doing now, and there's a light on the table, okay? So anyway, so what was that piece called, Julia?
That piece was called Biocity.
Oh, very good, very good. And how many pieces were you manipulating?
I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 tracks. And so basically I had 3 textures from similar sources. So the original source was the tunnel in Sheffield. The name escapes me, Thurgoland Tunnel. So what I did was the original tunnel recording was about 4 minutes, which was recorded on my mobile phone, so not fantastic quality recording, but nice enough. And then using Audacity, which is one of my favourites, I did a pull stretch and stretched it from 4 minutes to 19. But then, so Audacity is free downloadable software, but also you can get pull stretch, which is a standalone software audio tool, which is lovely, and you've got a number of parameters that you can work with in that. So I took that original 19 minutes, and then what I did was I extended it again through pull stretch. And just to explain, the pull stretch, it takes a sound, and say like it's a 1 second sound, if you multiply it by 10, it takes every granule of that sound and multiplies it by 10 before it gets onto the next granule. So you can make a simple sound like that, shimmer, so it goes and it's lovely for textures. So what I did was I put it into the pull stretch tool, and then within that you've got a parameter. You can take it from noise to tone, so it brings out the colour in the sound. And so I extended that from 19 minutes to 45 minutes. Initially I tried it, I took 19 minutes and I was doing it times 8. I'm thinking, why is it taking so long? Because it was a number of hours of material that was being processed. But yeah, so I had 2 lots of manipulations of that available. Then I took the original drones that I came up with for Microworld and put that into the mix with repeats. And then I had a number of creature sounds which I used. I created using a synthesizer a few years ago, all these lovely chompy and supersonic sort of sounding creatures. And I organised them according to what I thought sounded like sea creatures, land creatures and sky creatures, including out in the space, and layered them and extended them, repeated them. And then I had behaviours. What I did was I was recording myself in the kitchen with lentils, cornflakes, bran, all sorts of sounds like that, and to create different textures, which I call behaviours. Put that in Audacity. There was about 10 layers of that, repeated, amplified, and then that was in one channel. And then the final channel was an original little edit I did of Microworld, which had all the 8 phases, the times of the day, and different creature sounds. So, because I find it quite nice, like with last week, if you have a little composition within the mix, there's a moment when you can take a breather and think, okay, that's happening, so I can just sit back. But I really enjoyed mixing it. I could hear from my phone that the signal was a bit choppy. And it's a bit strange because obviously sitting at my laptop, I've got all the sound coming at me, and then there's a slight delay from my phone with the sounds. But actually the two sounds together work really nicely, so I was having a special mix.
Very good. Very good. Well, thanks, Julia. And you know, we're going to hopefully have a booster to improve the quality of our signal. Maybe next week or so. So
if that's the case, I wouldn't mind if that's okay with you revisiting this mix.
Because, for sure.
I think it's got potential, and I literally finished organising the material 5 minutes before we were actually due to go live. So my mix of it was my first hearing of everything. So, but I'm a great believer in improvising anyway. And if you're happy to tolerate that, that's great.
No, that's great. I mean, anyone and everyone that's going to participate in this will obviously be taking on board, some of the difficulties that we have, running such a thing. We're learning as we go along. But anyway, thanks very much, and thanks for explaining. And Julia will be regularly performing in the space, and hopefully we'll have some more live music from others over the next few weeks. Anyway, thanks, Julia. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay,
Bye. Okay, Tim, do you want to do some more music?
Yeah, sure.
You can perhaps put Simon Ray's piece on.
Yep.
And I'll improve this.
There's some quite interesting effects with the dots redrawing the shape, the feedback within the feedback of the shapes, creating these right angles. But
do you want to say something about it?
Well, it's called Crows, so I'm assuming it's a recording of crows.
From Simon Ray.
This is from Simon Ray, who contacted us this week.
Yesterday.
I think he'd seen her talk with the Computer Arts Society, and just sent through what he had, which was some natural recordings and some drawings as well, animations. I think Nicola's going to play those later. I'm going to try and boost this crows up a bit.
Yeah, no, my lead's too long.
Okay. So I'm going to put them through a granular synthesis program. The crows, that is. So this one's got to go in the clip. Lots of these programs we write midweek and we're testing them out on the weekend. And this one, which is the one with the pixel thing, the new pixel things on them, is continuously crashing. This time I turned the MQTT off, but it still crashed. So I thought I'd isolated when you're trying to debug something. It's good to try and isolate the problem. But I suspect it still is the problem, even though I've turned it on. Even though MQTT is not showing on the screen, it is probably still running in the background. It's certainly trying to talk to Sean's server. And I'll just have to look a bit more carefully at it because it's manipulating them more than it was before. Okay, well thanks Simon for the crows. Nicola's next going to be showing some video by Stephen Carley and sound as well, which is playing out loud in the room. So we'll try and get it sounding as best we can. Meanwhile, I'm going to try and work out why that program has crashed, and then we're going to show you, talk about coral a bit, stigmagee. I sort of feel this program's got away from us a bit, but I would like to do one simple explanation. So Nicholas doing some Stephen Carley stuff now.
And the sound is playing through the microphone.
It's got in the same place. Maybe it's calling out too much. What's going on? 1, 2, 3.
Some sunstones.
Well, I don't know where that's going underneath that. So is that already on a loop? Okay, so I'd like to talk about Carley a little bit.
Okay, so I'll just fade this out, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll put some more of that music back in a bit. I just want to talk about coral and stigmagee because it was one of the sort of central themes of this week's show, and we haven't sort of done much with it yet because, well, it's been happening, but we haven't explained it because we've been too busy trying to put out fires, I suppose. So let's put it on screen 3. Coral. coral is a good example of stigma-y, is it? That's a good question, actually. Well, I think it is. Coral in real worlds floats around. What are the things that float around called, Nicola? Little bits.
Aeroplankton. Oh, motes.
No, and the coral's made of?
Oh, polyps.
Polyps. Polyps are floating around in the ocean until they find another polyp, and then they join onto that polyp, and they build with it a coral reef eventually. So you can simulate that quite straightforwardly in computing. So on the wall that you're looking at is a load of coral drifting right to left, and there is nothing for it to attach to. They're all in motion, but I can draw, if I give it something to attach to, I'm going to draw let's draw a sort of magenta blob on the screen. Oh, there goes a quote. I'll get rid of that. I'll draw where that is. What does it say? Extracting resources. Oh, these quotes that are flying through are from SimCity. The startup sequence of SimCity puts out various messages as it's getting its resources ready. So I'm going to draw a pink blob towards the left of this screen, and hopefully, although I can't see any yet, bits of coral which are the same colour as the blob I've drawn should attach to it. There's a threshold probably on the coral. Let me just check what that is. Coral threshold. If I put increase the threshold and Nicola turns the light off.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Sorry.
Oh, I've changed the direction of the coral as well. Now it's going up the screen. Right. I'm going to kill off the coral, start again. Can we get a light out, Nicola? Thank you. Right. So we want the coral going leftwards. No, leftwards. That left. Okay, back to notes. Draw a blob. And get this off. So you can see bits of coral are starting to attach themselves to this blob, or other bits of coral which have already attached. The only thing that the computer is doing, is the dots are doing, is saying, is there a coloured dot near me? If so, fix myself to it. And through that just that simple algorithm, you start to create what actually looks quite like coral shapes, without any instructions to them, not told them to make this particular form. And the word for this type of algorithm is called, well, it's got the word aggregation in it, which is a bit like accretion, which we were talking about right at the beginning of the show. So you can see the thresholds can be changed and change the direction. So the coral will actually attach to anything else that is going on in the scene. So we'll just run coral on a few different screens, play some more of Stephen's music, and watch the whole screen slowly build up and be taken over by coral. So Nicola, create some more of Stephen's music.
Sure.
I wonder if it attaches to humans. Do you think coral can grow on humans?
I am sure if fungus can grow on humans, coral can certainly grow on humans.
Yeah, let's get them bombing a bit. A good way to test them is to run them at super speed. No, they don't seem to want to stick to the humans, but they will stick to anything that's on the background. And we have got a background layer, I just remembered. So if I change that, I'm not sure quite how this will work, because if I knock out some of these background layers, change the background to more of the colour of the coral.
as like could be a new tartan. Okay.
New tartan.
Could be a new tartan.
It's supposed to be like a city, isn't it? I've turned Sean's MQT things back on. We'll see how long it takes to crash this time. That looks good, that one on the right.
Yeah, it's good having the info so it turns off. How are we doing for time?
About 20 minutes.
Okay, so I've got a few more bits to show.
Half an hour.
Right, so come
Stick
on,
with you.
operation.
What is the plan, Nicola?
I'm going to try, I've got some patterns to introduce.
Yeah, I'm going to change this one to, I want it geometrical. So we had that good last week, but
Yes,
this week
yes.
it seems to have done some more. Oh, coral, yeah, coral's good. Oh, this mouse is very sensitive. When the coral goes to coral, it resets its settings. It shouldn't do it. It doesn't hold on to them, so there's a bit of wrong coding there. Okay, Nicola, you've not been doing much building of little architectural models today.
We've had so many things to think
I know,
about.
so many things to put in and out. Right,
I'm just going to,
I'm going to put some music on.
yeah, and I'm going to put on Simon's GIF.
Simon's visuals.
Yeah, I'm going to start with a GIF. So let's get this feeding into the mix.
Doorbell. This was a series of circuit bent synthesizers. Including a doorbell. it's gone into a sort of stepped feedback system, which is generated by the drawings by Simon Ray, which are animating about 1 a second, and some are white and some are black. That's feeding a lot of light onto the main screen, which is then in turn flashing around the room. So it's really nice
So shall I invert it?
stepped feedback. I like it, yeah.
See what happens if I invert. Oh no, actually it'll be really bright.
Invert won't make any difference. I mean,
No.
if you just hide the video there, you'll see that it'll all stop. Yeah, so now we're just at level. So it's because that's interesting, isn't it?
Cheers, Simon.
So yeah, it's quite effective to send in flashing videos, I suppose.
If I it's an animating GIF. It's not doing any justice to the actual drawing itself because it's very hard to read, but on the other hand it's feeding into the mix and it's affecting
Everything. I'm going to put the music back up, Nicola.
Yeah. didn't realise we went on.
So we're coming to the end of this week's show, which was a bit more
Random.
crashy than usual. And Nicola didn't build very many biogenic cities.
Don't worry, they will happen.
But we've got more stuff.
And hopefully we'll get even more stuff. We'll have more people sharing stuff. And
We'll have to
different
regulate it
strategies.
better because we're getting so confused with too many different possibilities, I guess, of layering. The dots weren't behaving whatsoever today. I just cannot get them moving, Nicola. I don't know why.
Put tide on them.
Tide always works, that's true. Well, we'll finish on tide then.
So it's the sand element coming back into the city, and there's a lot of sand in the city, so I'm
Can't
going
go
to
wrong
get
with
some,
tide.
and I think I'm going to bring some city into it.
I'm going to tide everything.
So I'm going to take off the video.
So yeah, so next week we have another thing. What's the thing next week? Well, it sort of extends this week actually. Maybe we'll do it a bit better. But it's going to be called Life and Death in the Sugarscape. Sugarscape was the name of a cellular automata simulation of a society. It's from a book called Growing Artificial Societies. So we are going to develop the ideas here further and hopefully add in a live coding demo. So the artificial society Sugarscape was on a grid. We're going to show you how to make a grid in processing and then send pixels around the grid and then they can behave in certain different ways. And this was one of the first types of things that I coded when I was a kid back in the 80s. So it'd be cool to recreate some of those effects and show you how you could possibly do them at home. So if you've got one laptop to watch the Microworld at home and another one maybe to do some coding, you can join in. That's what we're going to try and do.
It's nearly the end, so let's just.
Oh yeah, we
want
need
to
the
get
theme
the
tune.
city in. Tim, can you kill your wall? I'm getting the city in, okay?
Which wall?
That one.
That one. Kill it.
Yeah, because I got some city. So it's nearly
dead.
the time. Yeah. So I've got some copyright-free film, which I've just fed into it. There's loads of nice drone film you can get of empty streets, but I thought this caught my eye. I think this one's from Hong Kong.
Is that Hong Kong?
Yeah.
What
And
can
then
you
I'm
put
just
something on top of it?
Yeah, I'm going to put a pattern over the top of it. And I think I shall have.
Here comes the theme tune, Nicola. Be quick.
Okay. And I think I'll just make those rolling. Sun and Hong Kong. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and thanks for contributing to the Microworld. We didn't get to play everything, but it's always in the library, and if you don't mind, we'll use it anytime, and we'll always credit you. Thank you.